I've debated whether to do this video or not, because I'm sure everyone's experience is a little bit different, but I hear more times than I should that saying that you have ADHD is a crutch, ADHD medication is not necessary, exercise, that's not how stimulants work, blah, 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 blah. And I'm sure it's coming from a really good place. But I don't think that most people know I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD until I was 28. I was raw dogging life for 28 years it didn't even occur to me that I had ADHD. I came from a time where, every kid under the sun was put on Ritalin. It was something that was sort of overblown. It was one of those things that was like, oh, every kid's on Ritalin these days. Everyone has ADHD. And so I was one of the kids that, I don't know. I think that we thought we were better than that or something. I don't know. We were one of those kids that wasn't on Ritalin because ADHD presents very differently in women than it does in men, especially in early childhood. So I wasn't that kid that was running around causing problems or being loud or obnoxious. I wasn't someone who was disruptive, and I was honestly pretty shy. I wasn't very outgoing. So that just wasn't at the time what they perceived ADHD as being. As I grew a little older, things became much more obvious, and the way that I was living my life and making decisions became very, very glaringly obvious to everyone except for myself and I guess the people that were closest to me. But when I finally figured it out, I was actually with someone at the time who had ADHD, and I was like, this isn't what I thought ADHD was. It was with someone who was a very high-level professional, had a fantastic life, was doing all the things that adults do, was not at all what I thought ADHD looked like, which was, a kid running around screaming uncontrollably. And I was like, now hold the phone, because this seems suspiciously similar. I also was a high-level professional and was living a life that from the outside looked very controlled and regular. But I remember the first time I ever got put on ADHD meds, and the best way that I can describe it is that I had no idea. My entire life I was standing in the middle of this just deafening snowstorm with just all the snowflakes just like flashing around me at the speed of light and just the wind just like howling. And the very first time I took ADHD meds, for the very first time, it's like all those snowflakes just froze in the air. And for the very first time, everything went quiet and was calm. And it was one of those things, it's like wearing glasses for the first time where you don't know that you've been living that way your whole life. Everyone that I knew growing up was like, well, everyone's like that. And it's like, well, yeah, that's because ADHD is hereditary. You have it too. You just didn't know that because your parents just... Standards are different for different generations, and the way that kids were treated in the past based off of their behaviors is very different than they're treated now. Now we look for why they're acting that way. In the past, they were just going to beat it out of them. But it was such a eye-opening moment to realize that I was angry for a long time. I was genuinely really angry. I was angry that no one said anything to me. I was like, how is this not blatantly obvious? How did you guys let me go for so long without saying anything? Like, why did no one say anything? I was angry for a long time, but then it became one of those things where it started to make a lot of the pieces in my life that didn't make any sense. It started to make them all just sort of click together. And rather than having a sense of confusion about my life and a sense of things just didn't make any sense, it started to connect those dots together. And I think that's been the best part, because the answer is that having ADHD, knowing that you have ADHD, is not going to solve any of your problems. It's not. But knowing gives you the ability to sort of look at those things a little more clearly. It allows you to reflect on your own thought processes and your actions with more clarity, and allows you to sort of make decisions with better tools to sort of facilitate what outcome you want. Now, I've sort of grown to embrace my ADHD, not really looking to fight it. I understand that comes with a whole lot of cons. It also comes with a lot of pros. I would not be here today. I would not own my own store today if I didn't have ADHD. I mean, maybe I would. I don't know. I'm not a, wizard. But, there are just a lot of things that just having ADHD allows you to do that without that hyper focus, without that just jump off of the ledge into oblivion, into not knowing what's ahead, and not necessarily, it's not that you don't worry about the consequences, because, anxiety is another part of the equation there, but it allows you to make jumps that other people don't necessarily make. And I'm generalizing. Obviously everyone's experience is going to be different, but I'm just saying that from my personal experience and perspective, for me, it has been much more healthy to embrace it than it has been to be angry and frustrated and use it as a crutch. Part of my channel is showing that you can have ADHD. You can have all kinds of problems, but you can still have an amazing life. You can still be someone who's respected and well known. You can be someone who has everything that you wanted in life. It's not a limiting factor in the way that I think media portrays it as being. And I'm sure for some people it probably is. Prior to having a coral store, I changed jobs every single year. Every year, like clockwork, because I would just get bored of them. It took about a year for me to figure out like everything that the job entailed. And then I'd be like, all right, let's move on. Is this it? Like, is this what the rest of my life is going to be? That sounds like a nightmare. My greatest fear was always living a life of predictability. I didn't really want to grow old in a suburb somewhere with a white picket fence. To me, that just sounded boring. But hopefully this reaches people who are feeling the struggles, because the struggles are very real. They are. They're genuinely very real. But hopefully they sort of give you some clarity that those struggles can have a really positive outcome. And my story's not over, so maybe it's not a positive outcome. But for right now, I would say that it has been more of a positive in my life than a negative. So good luck. Hopefully it gets better.